Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Capcast. I am Naiwal, joined by my beautiful hostess,
Nikki.
co-hostess, whatever, hostess, co-hostess. Yeah, Nikki.
Yeah, that's me.
How you feeling?
3 years into the pandemic, and I finally got COVID.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, welcome to the club, kid.
yeah, I
What's
feel special.
Oh yeah, you should be, especially given the fact that how many times have you got vaxxed up?
Three, I
Nah.
think. Should have done the one more, but and I had a hospital stay while at the peak of the pandemic. Didn't get it. Every nurse in the hospital was sick. Didn't get it. Got it. Probably getting coffee at my local
Getting
coffee shop.
coffee. Wow, with it, I mean, kind of makes you feel a certain way, especially after the episode that we had of The Last of Us today, in terms of how things spread. So,
Yeah,
it's very fitting. It all
yeah.
ties in together pretty well. I feel like,
I did this
uh,
specifically for to add an element
yeah,
to our podcast of
we die for
realism.
our art.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I hope to see everyone there whenever Nikki's just.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think anything special that happened with me this week, other than not just been busy. That's it. Not sick. I'm
Lucky.
Listen to my voice, clear as day. No, that's not true. It's not true. I still have a random cough, but that's it.
We both are. Well, maybe we should keep a cough
Well,
count.
my excuse is I have a kid, and then for some reason, kids are always coughing, which means you're always coughing, and it's just like I don't know. It's weird.
That
So,
open mouth kid cough they have too.
okay.
You did.
That was a
Jesus,
real one. All right. Well, we had an awesome episode of The Last of Us tonight, so let's pop the top on this. Episode
Yes.
3 was called
Long,
Long,
long.
Long Time. It was good. Let's
It was
see
really good.
what it starts off with Joel and Ellie chilling in
Stacking
the
them
woods.
rocks.
Yeah. Joel stacking rocks, which apparently, I don't know if you knew about this or
I
have heard
do.
about it. You
Yeah.
know about it.
Leave no trace.
Leave no trace. Exactly.
Not supposed to stack rocks, in case you're wondering what we're talking about. You're technically not, you're supposed to go into somewhere and leave it the same way it was when you went into it. But he said it's the apocalypse. Honestly, there's way less people. I can stack a few
Honestly,
rocks here and there.
exactly.
In the grand scheme of things, my rock stack's not making much of a difference at this point.
And in all things considered, what he just lost Tess. What I think we can only assume what it's been a whole day after,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Or
Yeah, it didn't seem like long. And
yeah,
I know that like putting rocks on a grave is like a Jewish tradition. I didn't know if there was any like symbolism in that
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Maybe for
That's
Tess.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
A better question would be, when you see the apocalypse, how many people keep their religion?
That's true.
It's one of those things.
I think
Um,
you either fully abandon it or lean way hard into it.
all
And
the
there's
way into it
yeah,
to the point where it almost becomes a borderline cult-like activity.
yeah.
So we Joel goes back, and Ellie is, you know, chatty Cathy, trying to break the tension a little bit. And Joel's just he's being rude. He's being a jerk. And
Mm-hmm.
Ellie tells he goes, "Hey, I just want to say," and he's like, "Don't, I don't want to hear sorry." He's like, "I'm not saying sorry.
Right.
Like, this isn't my fault. Y'all had a choice. You took the choice because you wanted a battery for your car. And ultimately, what has happened because of your choice. I'm a bystander in this,
Yeah. It's
you
not
know?"
her fault
Mm-hmm.
that she was the thing they were training for, right?
Yeah. And it's one of these things. It's like as young as Ellie is, very, very sure of herself, and very. I mean, I guess in the apocalypse, when you're raised in it, you're going to be pretty adult pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, that's pretty real, and I think Joel, he was like, okay, yeah, fair enough, valid point. Let's freaking go.
Yeah. And also, I think he has to look at her and be like, she's still a child, she's a kid. You can't like hold all these adult like greater decisions and consequences and whatever against just
A
at the end of the day,
14-year-old,
it's a
yeah.
kid,
Mm-hmm.
like so.
Let's
And I
see. Oh,
yeah,
continue. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to cut you off there.
no, that I think, yeah, just he seemed, but like throughout this whole episode, to appreciate, I mean, the parts of her we saw in this episode, appreciate her as like more of the person she is, and that
Yeah,
person is a kid, and
individual.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so
Which is like is a good thing. It's
yeah,
because I don't want to watch a show where someone's sitting there babying someone the whole time
right.
too. So it's nice. But yeah, Joel and Ellie get a move on. Mentions
5 hour
going.
hike.
Yeah,
I
I
wrote that
said, oh yeah,
down.
we could get a 5 hour hike. Yeah, we can do that no time.
Yeah.
Not me.
How many
5 hour
miles
hike
is
would
that
take me
bad
10
boy?
hours.
I was
It,
thinking probably 10 miles.
yeah, no, because I mean, later on, uh, Bill kind of makes it clear. He's like, hey, if you leave now, you can make it to Boston before nightfall. So
Right.
it's kind of like, yeah, it's like how close is it?
So were they always on foot going there? That's what I was curious about. I mean, they must be.
In yeah, yeah, I think they had to have been.
Interesting.
I feel like that because I feel like a direct path would be a little populated, so to speak.
True.
So yeah, I think off the beaten trail would probably be the best way to move. Um, but yeah, so they get a move on. Uh, and Ellie's talking. Where'd you get shot? How'd you get shot? Oh, they shot you? You? Oh, that's a cool story. Did you shoot
Oh,
back? I missed. Did you miss because you suck, or
they're so
it's like, oh my god, teenagers, please stop.
she's inquisitive for sure.
He says you ask a lot of questions. I sure do. Yeah, and then they get to this little stop. You see awesome Mortal Kombat 2 blabbing about. It's cool to see other video games
Yeah.
inside of this. Taking like, okay, cool,
How did she
appreciate.
know about it? That's what I want to know. Do they have arcade, or was it just
They
like
She said that her friend knew everything about it, which I'm like, how did your friend know about it?
their friend had a nerdy dad or mom, and
Yeah,
some traditions were passed down as like folklore.
my
This is
my
Mortal Kombat.
my idea is, which whoever it was would draw the characters as close to memory as they could. It's like, who's this? Why she got so many teeth in her mouth? Oh, that's Melina. What does she do? Oh, she could eat people whole. Is
Family
this a
night,
real
they got into
person?
costume, they fought.
They fought,
Dad
actually knocked each
did the
other out.
music. Yeah.
Family separated after quite literally separating each other. It's a old family tradition. We had a callback to the "Just You" joke. I'm telling you, I'm calling it now. So, last episode, is there anything bad in here? Just you. This episode, is there anything bad in here? Just you. It's funnier every time.
Yeah.
I feel I can call it now. Something deep, emotional is gonna happen, and there's gonna be this reconnection with Joel and Ellie. And he's like, "Is there anything bad?" He's like, "Just you, kid."
Aw. Or she'll
Calling it
say it. Who
now,
knows?
or she'll say exactly. Um, I just thought it was cool, and we get a moment of scavenging. Um,
She breaks into the terrifying cellar. I did not
which
like that.
I wanted to talk about this. So, one, why would you do that, silly goose? But we see this
Yeah.
one last remaining box of Tampax.
I thought that was hilarious. Those Tampax were accurate to 2003, which I Googled it, and a dude is selling 2003 Tampax on eBay. And I'm like, why? Don't know. I wouldn't recommend using those 20 years later. But the box was like legit the design, because I was like, that's not what they look like
Is it?
now.
And then
Um, that box was immaculate. Also, ew.
and not like chewed away at the
Yeah,
seams
the whole
from
other cellar was nasty, but that box of Tampax was like, oh,
nice and dusty, just a little dust. And which honestly, I want to say, I was like, I feel like those would be basically gold to have in the apocalypse. It's an oversight that I as a man could never understand or appreciate.
right.
But I would imagine, say, in a fallout
I
circumstance,
don't know if I would. Okay,
how much caps do you think you could sell a box of Tampax for?
I'm just thinking logistically, want would a menstruating person want to use something so old? I mean, it's made out of cotton. There does it keep that long? I'm pretty sure the boxes have expiration dates.
I don't know. I honestly, you're asking the wrong kind of person.
See, these are I don't have periods anymore either. I had cancer. So I'm like 2 years away from that. I don't think about it often either, to be honest with you. It's easy. It's crazy how quickly you forget.
That's okay.
But I'm blocking it out because it was awful.
Trauma block.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you would want to use something like an old paper product, and it just sounds gross. Also, just on a personal note, I don't like that brand. Uncomfortable. So I was like, no, get a better brand in there.
Tampax, you will never sponsor us. Do you hear this? Do you
Neither
hear
of us
us?
have periods, so I don't think,
Period.
I don't think they
Ironically, period, no periods. Okay, dog.
Oh, sorry for the TMI.
You know what? It's okay. It's all good. It's
We're
the
just
Cap
being
Cast.
real.
We're being real.
No, I don't know. I was like, well, I could see why that's probably more convenient than like the old school methods of dealing with periods, which we don't have to get into that much detail. Which is, I'm imagining what they reverted back to when all of that went down.
Well, I mean, we're an apocalypse themed podcast, man.
True.
My theories, which I did write them down. I was
Okay,
like, my theories were, old shirts.
Yeah, it's a rag. I mean, the phrase "on the rag" comes from reality.
Yeah, reality. I was like, old shirts, leaves? Question mark. No.
They're absorbent. Yeah, I honestly think it would be like, or even cloth diapers. Potentially, like cut up kind of deal. Some people use sponges. There's a whole lot of things you could do. Not like natural sponges.
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't consider that. Old SpongeBob boy. All right. But yeah,
if this part of the episode bothers you, you're probably not going to like the later parts of the episode either. You know what I'm saying? Which
by now you've probably been weeded out.
Yeah, we've gotten rid of all the.
Yeah, you've been weeded out. All right, so. as we go forward a little bit more,
I will say we're not getting back into like the nitty gritty of it, but I will say it was a nice element. Like you said, it was something you hadn't thought of. And I thought that element was like, oh, that's great. She was super focused on toiletries this episode. It wasn't the only she grabbed.
Toilet paper too. So, yeah, dude, for real.
I just thought that was a nice element of being like, yeah, he's traveling the U.S. with a girl. These are realities.
It's the realities for real. And Joel, I'm sure Joel has totally forgotten what it's like to be the father of a daughter. So which moving on from that, there's a infected, as I'm training myself to say, so I don't say Walker. The other thing, Walker. Like just crushed, absolutely crushed, can't do anything. And there's this moment where it's a little psycho with Ellie. And I don't know if it's morbid curiosity.
I felt like a little scientist was like, oh, what's under here? I think it was her first kill, right? Of one of them?
I don't know if it's her first one, because I think in the DLC of the game, you see how she got the bite mark to begin
Right.
with, and she had to have gotten away somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
So, um,
Maybe that
which
was her revenge.
yeah, it's like, well, without even spoiling it, there, that story I'm sure they're going to touch upon in the show is a very very good story.
Okay.
But yeah, in The Last of Us 2, Ellie is a very violent person,
Yeah.
very violent. And while I was sitting there, I was like, why would she cut her open? She understands what the infected are. They make it very very clear. Maybe just because she's not had a chance to see one docile, or not docile, but
Trapped.
basically incapacitated to
Yeah.
beyond belief. And so maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was a little bit of sadism. So combo of both. But yeah, she gets up out of there. Uh, oh yeah, and then I want to say this. Um, when are the infected considered connected to the hive mind?
Right.
At what
I think
point does
because
it
it was
stop?
underground, there was no root
Mushrooms
structure.
thrive underground.
Right. That's the rule they're making up, and they're gonna have
I
to.
I was like, where at what point does the hive mind's extension stop? Because they said for miles.
No, and I also in our last episode, if you watched on YouTube, I put a bunch of diagrams of what that is in there. And like I said in that episode, it's like mushrooms are the connector to roots.
Mhm.
So in that like logic that they're going down, wouldn't the root structures of everything, like wouldn't everything
Like
be connected?
I like, as much as they don't need to, obviously disconnect, don't overthink it too much. This is the rule set that they're going by. Yes.
But their rules aren't
But
consistent.
but it's like I need clarity sometimes in just how far they extend. Like
I guess
in an
because we didn't
environment
see
where a
anything
mushroom,
growing around him. Like we didn't. In reality, it would have been. It was in a cellar. Like it would
yeah,
have been mushroomy down there for sure.
but beats shrooms, right? Or not shrooms, spores. Beats spores. Nothing beats shrooms. And then okay, and then Joel putting up the gun and saying, "Oh, I just don't have ammo for it." Why did no one grab anything from the state house before they burned off?
Nothing.
Not a thing. Not a grenade. Not a.
They
This is
wasted
just
all
some
those
stuff I was
grenades.
thinking back to. I was like, you mean to tell me there was no ammunition or guns that they had that you could have grabbed beforehand before we started blowing up stuff?
Nope.
But hey, you
Nothing.
know what? I'll chalk it up to everything was in a panic. Tess about to die. No time to think about it other than
Indeed,
the fact that
all
they slowly walked in there before all that
she
happened.
let it make out with her, but whatever.
Did
Yeah,
she
it
get
felt
any
like
bullets out of his mouth? I don't know.
it was such a waste. Yeah,
uh,
I was
yeah.
upset.
Oh,
We got
and
the
then
food explanation. That was interesting.
yes. So I mean, really, kind of broke it down just a little bit that we heard about it being in flour from the last episode. Then they're like, "Yep, Joel said it straight up." Which I did have this question. Um, when Joel was like, flours, you ate pancakes in the morning. Wasn't Tess trying to make Joel pancakes that morning, or am I tripping? Not Tess, Sarah.
Yeah,
Like
pancakes or
for
waffles. I can't
for
remember.
something like that. I was like, but they were running late, so they had to go, right?
Oh, but he was saying it kind of needed to like I don't know, like bioaccumulate where you eat enough of it, and then that's when you get
That's what it
sick.
sounded like, because it sounded like all the bad foods shipped on a Thursday. People ate it on Friday, and then by the end, people were feeling sick, and then started biting people, and it was all shut down by that Friday.
Yeah,
Like all within that day. I was like, dang. Well, I was like, how much flour can you eat overnight? And then, I was like, God dang.
I thought that whole conversation was like a really interesting. Like they touched on like the topic of like globalization of our food,
Hmm.
and I thought that was really interesting. It's like this
We
is
get it
not
all from the same place.
yeah, and this is not an issue that would impact obviously before global travel. Like it actually made me think back to when that one shipping container was stuck in the Suez Canal and it like messed up all global trade for like a
Everything.
while.
Yeah.
Which
Even paint. Even
yeah,
paint. Working
um,
in the paint department. I was like, wow, what the heck?
it was wild, but I thought that was an interesting. I don't know. It was like I was like, ooh, it made me think of like learning about like globalization of food and all these other things in grad school. And I was like, oh, it's so cool that they're touching on like these deep topics
Mhm.
in a way. It's very thought provoking, I guess.
It's definitely expands a little bit on the background lore as
Right.
well, which is nice. Um,
And the idea of it accumulating was fascinating to me. It was
mhm.
like, so if you ate, I don't know, one pancake instead of a whole like stack of 10, are you slightly immune? Like that's where my mind was going.
What was Ellie's mom a pancake connoisseur? Is that the secret behind it? Was she pregnant and eating pancakes with Ellie?
Yeah. She
I
must have been fine.
was like, I need the answers.
So are they not? Are they? I assume in that world they are not using any old. At this point, it's
I
too
doubt it.
old flour, anything like that.
Which actually later on, I do have some notes about modern vegetation and how that's going.
Okay,
Um, but yeah, and then Ellie's theory was I bet you it was a monkey. I feel like what she said the first thing was a monkey. I feel like that was a reference to Shaun of the Dead
right.
because the first zombie was a monkey,
Okay,
and then they
I
made
didn't even
some,
think of that.
and then also 28 days later. That's another one I think it was where might have been 28 days later where they were like experimenting on monkeys and then one of them was infected and then it got out and then yeah, rapid
Right.
outbreak.
I mean, there are a lot of diseases that humans get that come from monkeys too, just because we're, you know,
Sir, ain't nobody talk to you. You scared the heck out of me, you robot freak. Dang,
that
I
was
started
really
talking about
funny.
monkeys and she said, I'm gonna store this idea. We need it.
Yeah, I just that was really sorry. That took me out of it for a moment. One sec. What is she coming up with?
I don't know, psycho broad. Stop.
Yeah, but like I was saying, like I mean, yeah, I wondered too if it was a reference to like media or like just diseases that we get, like monkeypox.
Tabloids.
Monkeypox recently was such a big thing that we talked about. I don't know what 6 months ago now. Um, I mean,
Mhm.
I think any mammals that live together give each other diseases too. I'm glad they didn't say she didn't say bat because I would have been like too soon, you know, from COVID.
Eh, guano, man, I understand. Listen, then we get to a site where Joel's like, "Hey, I don't want you seeing what's up ahead." She's like, "What is it? Is it an axe murder?" No, you should have said it was, because I'm gonna go look at it. And yeah, you see basically a mass grave
Yep.
of of people who weren't even infected from small kind of out of middle of nowhere towns where people are usually like everything's locally grown, you know?
Right.
Um, and just because they didn't have room in the quarantine zones, they just got picked off. And
Right.
that
Oh
begins,
God. Yeah,
yeah,
I thought that showing the fabric that the mom and the baby were wearing, and then they transition, and I was like, oh, don't,
to
I
that
can't.
flashback.
But
Yeah.
then I was like, oh no, I'm glad they're not following the baby and the mom. But
I was
then the
like, I don't
story
need to
they
see
did
all that.
follow was equally devastating. So,
Well, I'm sitting there, I was like, I know what happens to that baby, so please don't. It's all
yeah,
good.
good. But then the story they did tell was also sad. So,
we go into a flashback. Everyone's getting loaded up into cars and happy smiling people. The government's here.
it,
Nice.
it was it was giving Fallout energy a little bit to
It
me.
was, you're
Yeah.
right. Very, very enclave energy from that.
Yeah.
I'll be real with
And
you. It's
even
like,
the
oh,
dress, maybe because they were rural or whatever, but the way they were dressed was very it pulled me to a different era than 2003, so
baby Sean in the,
I know I was thinking the same
yeah.
thing.
I was like, golly. But yeah, I mean, government's hauling everyone up, and there's only one person who doesn't trust the government in this entire town, apparently.
Yeah.
And it is a
Well
doomsday
cast.
yeah, it is a doomsday prepper or a survivalist, as he put it.
Yeah. I wrote down prepper.
That's exactly what I wrote down too.
I thought it was funny that they cast Nick Offerman for this. Just because I know you haven't seen Parks and Rec, but his character in Parks and Rec is very libertarian, very anti-government. Is a certain like it could survive in any situation, has like go bags hidden around his workplace. So I was like, this is perfect casting. Like Nick Offerman,
there was actually
is that way in real life. I don't know if you know much about him, but that's kind of who Nick Offerman actually is. Very
because I know he was in another show where it's like everything's a simulation as well. Oh. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's on Hulu. It might be on Hulu, that I think. But I know there was someone else who was supposed to be Bill. It was an actor on Our Flag Means Death. But there was an overlap in scheduling. So Nick Offerman ended up taking the role instead. So I was like, I wish I knew the name of the actor off the top of my head. But that, just a little tidbit backstory fact on that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick did a really good job. So did Murray, the other actor.
For our Frank, which this is
deviation.
Deep. Yeah, this is our first. I would argue that this is even a bigger deviation from how Tess went out.
Right.
Because we see this flashback. Only person in town. Awesome. Listen, okay. So as someone who does think, like, I'm not a prepper, but I think about the apocalypse scenario. Every once in a while, I work in a hardware store, guys. And I constantly go, which aisles would I hit up first? And this guy has dibs on the whole town. You see him breaking into the gas station now that everyone's been migrated out, filling up barrels of gasoline, going to Home Depot. They cut down the electricity and it's like, oh, well, that was quick. Oh, well,
turns the gas back on.
Gets it all back on. Gas stove. Hey.
Smart.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot, it was I think he was living, it was his mom's house, wasn't it?
Yeah, he said that. The piano was his mom's, so.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm pretty sure that was
or like a family home kind of situation.
Something like that, yeah, because I was like, so all this stuff is all pretty antiquated, so you don't see, like, you have a gas-powered stove versus an electrical stove.
Right.
Yeah, and he's...
Well, and like, I wondered if their town's electricity was run on natural gas as well.
Yeah.
Which would make sense for that area of the US too. Like, I was like, oh, that's a nice little detail.
So, he's living off the land. This guy, he is thriving in this environment, and it's kind of cool to see. It's the kind of, it's how everyone thinks they're gonna be if the zombie apocalypse happens, but this guy actually is.
They show him cutting down wood, splitting like. Also, there's 100% chance that Nick Offerman did that because that would be considered a stunt. I'm sure he did it himself. He shot a bazooka on the last season of John Oliver. So,
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, it was. It's really cool watching him just like build everything and put it together. The traps. I was like, this guy is dope.
Then, he watching the trap go off on his little camera.
Yeah, he's like, never gets old. Yeah, funny every time.
I felt like both Nick and Murray's character were playing their age, which respectively is 51 and 52, and then they got aged up later on. I just wanted to say that before we moved on. I thought that was kind of cool.
And then this is probably where I want to kind of interject my thought about vegetation and crop.
Yeah, do it.
Because you see him pull this carrot out, which I initially had it written for the strawberries, but whatever. But he pulls this carrot out, and I'm sitting here going, how do you check to make sure? A carrot is literally a root.
Right.
It's just like, and my friend was like, because I was like, I don't think I would ever grow anything outside in the ground again. I was like, I would have individual plot, like almost like
Yeah, with the
things
new
sectioned off for it.
introduction of
Yeah.
the so there is no like I don't know, there's no like um root structure, the mushroom equivalent of a root structure. I can't think of the
Yeah.
term right now off the top of my head, but there's none of that in the game connecting
Yeah.
anything. That's just like not in the game at
Mm-mm.
all.
It's just
Yeah,
like
they've
it's
introduced a
spores and stuff. That's the major thing. It's spores and then like that was it. You
yeah,
know?
so they put a real I don't know, they put a wrench in their
They, if anything, it's caused
storytelling a little bit.
it's added more questions in
Right.
terms of food. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I would be terrified to eat food or vegetables or anything like that. An apple, I would be afraid to eat.
Yeah. Well, okay, so when he was growing the carrot, that was like in a raised garden bed. Those are usually separated with whatever. I don't garden, so I don't know, but
Yeah,
I know they're separated
but the
to keep the
strawberries were
strawberries.
not.
No, they were in the ground, just in the
That was
soil. Yeah,
it. That
so
was it. That's why I was sitting there. I was like, I
yeah.
can't
No, I
handle.
would be only on hydroponics, man. I would be in a greenhouse and I would be doing hydroponics. There was no way I would put stuff in the
You,
ground.
you could come down to my like. Listen, say we're post-apocalyptic neighbors, okay? You know,
I
you
live next
come.
to a nuclear plant. I am if the apocalypse happens,
Oh yeah,
we're
you're
gone.
dunsies.
Um
No, no, no. We're just nice, equal land, very similar to what we've seen in tonight's episode. You come down to my post-apocalyptic house, and you're gonna go down into the basement. And it's gonna be a bunch of black light, and you're like, "Yo, are you growing what I think you're growing in here?" I'm like, "No, this is actually where I put the corn."
yeah. I have my
don't.
nutrient solutions. You know, you're doing good.
It's like it's all. It's just like, do you eat mushrooms on
You
pizza
might want to
anymore?
actually come to
No,
California for that because we have some hydroponic infrastructure out here.
honestly, yeah, for real. Not in
But
Texas, my God.
yeah, I'm sure I could go up the neighborhood and find it. I'm sure. So
See, there we go. So yeah, and then we see what he's been doing by himself, and what for? I think we have a 4 year time jump, 3 or 4 year time jump,
yeah,
and uh, something has fallen in the well, not the well, but a hole, but a trap, and we hear someone asking for help, help, help.
who could it be?
Who could it be?
White Lotus star Murray Bartlett. Oh my god,
Oh
I
my
love him so
God.
much.
And yeah, he's in this hole that Bill has made.
Dude put some
And
time into that hole. I didn't see a backhoe or anything to dig that hole.
nothing.
That was a big, it was like perfectly round and it was
Yeah.
like 8 feet or more wide
I
all
mean,
around the circle. Like,
of all the traps to set off around that place, he got lucky. He
right?
got lucky. It's like,
Would not
hey,
have been a love story.
I would much rather fall into a hole than to get shot or lit on fire. So that works out pretty nicely. But yeah, we find out that obviously he's worried. Like, are you infected? I'm not infected. Do you have a weapon? Pause. 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 No.
Yeah.
Why do you hesitate? I thought I was gonna lie, but I was like, I don't have a reason to lie.
Yeah.
And yeah, he gets him out, and he has the scanner, which that is a freaking awesome thing to have in the apocalypse,
Yeah.
especially zombie apocalypse.
I wish that Joel would have found that before they left. They would have shown him
Yeah.
finding it or something like that. That would have been a nice tool for them.
It's
But
for real. It's like, okay, it's like, oh yes, come here. All right, just making sure.
yeah.
But yeah, pulls Frank out, gets some information. Quarantine zone? Where'd they say he came from?
It was south. I couldn't remember where though.
Yeah, Wyoming. No, wait,
Is it?
maybe. No,
That's
Wyoming
far.
is. No, that's where Tommy is. That's where Tommy is. Totally getting mixed up. Anyway, he comes from another quarantine zone. Place has been wiped out. Came from a group of 10, was sounding very much like Preston Garvey. We were 10 and then we're 8 and now it's just me.
Yeah.
It's like, God dang, dude.
Sad.
Yeah. It's like, oh, dang. Sorry, bro. It's like, okay, well, and this is where he's like, well, you can get to Boston within the day.
I'm
And then-
hungry.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, fine.
Oh, and he was just ready to show his like food chops. Like
Yeah, he was.
in the earlier sequence when they were showing him collecting all this stuff, they showed like a vineyard, and then they showed like, like he had a box of wine, a case of wine, and then he clearly knew what he was doing. He was
Hmm.
he had taste.
He's a connoisseur.
Yeah.
He's
So he was like, well, I'm gonna show off my cooking. Like I thought he was excited to do that on some level.
no human contact in 4 years, which honestly, I think Bill is a guy who didn't have contact before everything kind of fell apart.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Which I thought, I mean, I may as well talk about it now. I thought that message was really sweet too, because obviously they came from different worlds. Like, I
Hmm.
think it was clear. Remind me of the characters' names. I'm just thinking the actors' names right now.
Bill and Frank,
Yeah. So Frank is
the
Murray
people
Bartlett's.
person.
Yeah. Okay. So
Oh.
he seemed like his character was out. Like he wasn't in the closet, more like Nick Offerman's character was. They
Hmm.
clearly came from different worlds. Like I thought that message of like them being able to come together through was, something that like I don't know, in this day and age it's nice to see these messages. And
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
assuming the audience of this show, I mean, if they didn't turn it off, hopefully, but I think it's a good message for the audience of this show, which is gonna be a lot of groups of people.
Yeah,
So
because I mean, like, so he's the one that pulls him out. He goes, "Hey," because well, you have this very beautiful like dinner scene, and like Bill pops off. He's like, "Here's some clothes. I got you situated." And he's very clumsy and very awkward,
yeah.
but he's very good at what he does.
I loved
And
when he showed the wine. I immediately I was like, oh, I saw the label and I was like, that's French. Like, how did he get French
that's
wine? Like, good for him.
French.
Like, okay, a little background on me. My first quarter of college, or first 2 quarters, I was a wine and viticulture major. And I hated it. I was miserable. And I switched to earth science, but I learned a lot about French wine in that time period. So when I saw that label, I was like, whoa, flashback. Um,
Whoa, trauma.
what sucks is being 18 and learning about wine but not able to drink it.
At least, hey, you should have been in France when you were learning about it, because then you would have been able to.
True.
So yeah, I mean, and then even his pouring, like that is like as a server, you are taught to pour by holding the bottom like that.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
then
I was like,
the way he turned the plate. So, oh my God, it was just nice.
I
I
know.
did write down a line of dialogue. He said, I know I don't seem like the type to pair, I think it was Bourgeois. I can't remember. I might be butchering that. I'm not French. With rabbit. And then he responded, no, you seem like the type. And I thought that was a nice little element of him, like them picking up on his sexuality and stuff like that. Like that was
It was
the
very, yeah,
context of that.
it was very interesting. I was like, okay, all right, I see where we're going with this. I see how we're building it up.
Yeah.
And then that scene with the piano, we get the our title namesake, long time.
Mhm.
Because let me see, yeah, Linda Ronstadt. Start playing that song. Frank is like, it's adorable because he's trying to put the effort into it, and he's just like slamming his fingers
Yeah.
on the piano and going, wait a second, which I was like, this is realistically anytime I've ever tried to play the guitar, and then like you're strumming and no, that's not it. No, hold up. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Bill gets on there, very gentle. He's played it 100,000 times. And
It was in
this is,
tune, everything. I thought that
yeah,
was cool.
it's like, which I was like, he seems like someone,
Yeah, but
this is someone who took care of a piano,
the
not
real
that
question
frog.
is, was he better than the frog?
Probably not. The
I think people
frog,
are gonna pick the frog.
I
The
think, yeah,
frog
because
is
I
a
was like, that frog, I don't know if you
fan
noticed,
favorite.
lived on the piano.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. But yeah, and then we get this very touching scene. Frank goes, "Were you singing that about a girl?" And he's like, "No." Bill goes, or Frank goes, "I know."
Yeah.
And he pulls him out. Man, I was like, wow. It's like if you come from a world where, I mean, 2003,
No, you
not
never see that
widely.
on TV.
No, heck no. You would never.
Yeah.
And at this moment, this was when he tells him, he's like, go take a shower. And he takes that towel off of him. I was like, there goes the bad, toxic gamer fanboy.
Goodbye.
It was like, it is out of here.
Okay. I don't know. For some people, it may have been the kiss. And to them, I say goodbye. But yeah, so I think if people think they're going to be able to watch this episode and be like, oh, I'm sure we're going to see outrage tomorrow, tonight, if we, poke around on social media. But, if something like that, if they're going to be showing like all kinds of relationships, this kind of thing is going to keep happening on the show. You're going to keep not wanting to watch. If
that is the beauty about representation that isn't being forced down your throat. It was already established in the game,
right,
that Bill had a partner named Frank. We are seeing Bill's story, and they've changed it entirely, because in the game, Bill is alive, Frank is not.
Yeah,
and which we haven't gotten there yet. But I love the change. This was
just builds on their
nice
story.
And,
I mean, all this stuff probably could have happened in the game, right? Like,
but we're not following Bill and Frank. We're following Joel and Ellie in the game. So they don't have that. It's not, that wasn't a focus. That wasn't the focus of their story that they were trying to tell. But in the show, where
they have the opportunity to,
they have an opportunity
stories.
to do it, exactly.
So and it was so good. So like they're in the bed. I'm gonna have to bleep this, but they went from to like married couple bickering in that like jump forward in time.
No, exactly.
So, I was like, real.
That's how all great relationships start.
Yeah. It's like the start and then you're in the middle of it. Cause like I was like, wow, that's like they're showing what like whatever relationships like, like they're
and in the apocalypse.
I mean, like just the like they were very, I mean, like obviously the timetables might change if you're in the apocalypse. Intimacy was pretty quick for my standards, but
which actually that's what my friend said. Like she was like, I don't know if that would be the thing that would sell me on sleeping with someone, a meal and then doing it. I said,
I think he liked him immediately. I think he saw his taste in wine and he was like, damn,
I know. Like, and I told her, I said, they've probably not been together with anyone in 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there is
Offerman's character was like,
definitely.
He was like, I slept with a girl once,
Once, yeah.
But
exactly
that transition from them being like hot and heavy in the early part of their relationship to like in the middle of it, and they're like pissed at each other. I was like, it's so real, like
it is. It makes me laugh.
It was great. Like it was a great story. It like made it. I don't know. I love this episode. I think by this point I was already crying because I was like, they're gonna take him away. I know it. I haven't played the game, as we know, so I didn't.
I was certain. Sure. I was like, homie's gonna get infected and they gotta kill each other. I'm kidding. No. I was like, okay, maybe that's too gritty. Maybe that's a little bit more Game of Thrones.
Well, they would have been brothers on Game of Thrones. Let's be real. We watched Game of Thrones. We know.
I did. I know what's up. Okay, so we have this. There's an argument going. Okay, so I'm gonna count us down. 3, 2, 1, go. Whose side of the argument are you on for the reasoning? Okay, you remember the argument, yeah?
Yeah. It was like, okay. I want my house to look nicer,
pretty, and presentable. I want to spend gasoline. He wanted to mow every house on the street. He was like, I want to take care of these houses. This is my street too. So 3, say whose side you're on. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Bill.
Sorry. I'm on such a COVID delay right now.
It's all good.
It's not the Zoom. It's literally my brain was like, you're counting. Cool. I'm on the names of the characters are escaping me, but Murray Bartlett's character,
Frank. You're on Frank's side.
think okay, but that said, I did want to mention I didn't notice a difference. I didn't notice a difference
Yeah, valid.
inside at all. I was like, the same house looks exactly the same. Like,
I
but
know. I was sitting there. I was like, Bill has a very valid point. I was like, when you start painting the houses, it's like, why is this so well kept? Someone lives here. Like, I would want that place to look as abandoned as
yeah, but
possible,
the fences
dude.
are gonna give it away no matter
Yeah,
what.
you're right about that. Dang.
So I don't know. I thought, yeah, I didn't notice a difference. I'll say
Yeah.
that. That said, I was still on his side. I was like, yeah, I would want to live somewhere nice. And then obviously, they showed later he's painting. Like that was cool. Like I
That
really
was
liked that
cool.
moment.
That is nice. I'd be afraid of growing things in the ground outside. Uh,
Oh, the strawberry. I mean, but the
yeah, the
strawberry scene was
strawberries.
so beautiful.
It
Like the way
was.
they're giggling.
Well, first we have to explain how they got the strawberries. Because what did
Right.
Frank do in order to get those strawberries?
Well, even before that, they opened
Even
lines of
before.
communication to Joel and Tess, and just the friendship between Tess and him was adorable. I really liked
It's
that.
like I know they were getting along, and then
Yeah,
and then you have Joel and Bill just staring each other
kind of the
down, and
same dude, different font.
yeah, it's
Like
like Joel looks more irritated than anything because he's like, if I wanted to do something, I would have done it by now, buddy.
I know. He's like, I'm just eating my dinner. Like
Yeah, he's like, get the gun out of my face. He's like, yeah,
I
this
liked
isn't
that.
going to last very long. Kind of broke it down, established some form of trade with them.
Yeah, and
And
the system, the radio system. I thought that was
yes, yeah, that's
yeah,
actually what I put. I put down the Frank is the one who was responsible for the code for the radio,
right.
which is really cool.
Super
Um,
smart. And they had established in that episode that they had access to a lot of music, obviously, because they were playing music throughout it. So I thought that
mhm.
was a nice little, like, good tie-in, good development on that one. It all made sense.
Which I think they were even what they hinted at it in the
First episode.
first. Was it
Yeah,
the first or the second? First, I guess it was the first. Yeah.
first. When they're leaving, yeah, you can hear an 80s song playing
Yep.
at the
And
end. I was like, was that when he died? But I like they had said somewhere at the end of the episode, like they're just replaying.
yeah, which because Joel he was listening to keep ear out just to see what was going on out there too, um, which from what I understand, '80s was kind of like a red alert kind of
Yeah,
thing, or just a heads up,
danger.
like
Yeah,
yeah, danger.
that's how I
So
feel about 80s music, to be honest with you.
man, '80s music to me is peace, man.
I don't know. I was born in the 90s. You were born in the 90s too,
I
right?
was born in the
Yeah.
'90s.
Like if you were born in the 90s, you grew up with a lot of people telling you how good the 80s were. And you're like, cool, I don't care.
I
Like
know. Listen, Men at Work, hands down, my relaxing.
yeah.
That's very relaxing to me. So
I get told I love it. I love it. It's so great. Oh, your big hair would have worked so well in the 80s. And I'm like, but it doesn't today.
it's like it works fine. It's coming back in style. Thank you very much.
It's
Hello.
just my hair. I don't do it. This
It's
is just
my
what it looks
head.
like. So sorry,
Yeah.
this is my
So
little rant against the 80s. I'm not a big fan. I had an ex who was born in the 80s too. That might be part of it.
I love the '80s. For those fine folks who like the '80s, I too. Thank you. Prince was in the '80s. Prince was in a lot of years, but the
He was
'80s.
there too.
Purple Rain was the '80s. Okay. Anyway. So time goes on.
I wrote time jump, and this is where I stopped writing because this is where the crying began.
This is when it started picking up, huh?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I got some notes. I didn't write too much after it because I too was watching.
Yeah.
Because Joel kind of hints, he's like, at some point, you're gonna get Raiders, and this, you better be ready for it.
Raiders.
And yeah, we see this time jump. It's late at night. It's raining outside, and people are approaching the fence. You see some not trip wires, but trip lighting, trip sensors. Yeah, sensors. There we go. They go off, and Frank wakes up. Yeah, Frank wakes up. Everything's on fire.
Yeah.
Because I said traps are goated.
Yeah.
That is
No,
exactly what I said. I was
your
like, traps
settlement
are
is at
phenomenal.
100%
Your
defense right
settlement is
there.
at 100%. Everyone feels safe.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy.
Your happiness is at 100. Congrats.
Yeah,
You got that
dude.
achievement
Good
there.
job. But yeah, Frank wakes up. Bill's out of bed. And I was like, of course he is. Dude, he knew they were coming an hour ago.
Yeah. Oh, because of the sensor. I didn't even think of that.
I was like, he had to have known, man, because I was like, he has that whole place wired up. Someone probably came out to scout out the area, and then Bill's like, okay.
I'm surprised he didn't have landmines, honestly.
Honestly, right? Dang.
That was crazy. But what I didn't understand, like, obviously, you need to move the plot forward, but like, he said the fence will take care of the rest of him while he's getting his like tabletop surgery there. He's like, the
Yeah,
fence,
like,
why was he out there fighting him if the fence was going to take care of him? You know what I
you
mean?
know, I didn't consider that. I didn't even consider that. I just thought it because Bill was just, I'm American. I'm gonna defend my homestead. Like
Yeah.
you're on my property. And bah. Just taking pot shots, showing that he has what it takes, kind of scare them off.
Yeah.
Which honestly, it seems like it worked. It seems like, okay, they're like, this guy is insane. Whoever runs this place is a freaking fortress.
Well, I think the fence did take care of the rest of them, honestly.
Yeah. Which is funny. It's like, after I seen two of my friends get electrocuted, I'd probably be like, no, I'm not touching this fence. I'm not
on fire. Hank just got electrocuted. Mike just got electrocuted and lit on fire. I'm gonna go back to wherever I came from.
I'm gonna hedge my bets and deuces out.
Yeah.
I'm
clickers. This, clickers.
Yeah. I'd rather do that. Yeah, Bill gets shot in the gut, carries him inside. I thought he was gonna die right there.
Oh, and his eyes were open.
Yeah, which I was like, it's shock. I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, he passed
now
out.
that I think about it. Yeah.
Well, they poured alcohol onto the wound. Like, that would have probably made you faint, which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. And
I was sobbing because I was like, is it now?
Is it now? Yeah, and then we get our bigger 10-year time jump.
Yeah.
2023, modern or up to date. And
August this year.
August, yeah. They're old.
They're in their 70s. If my theory that they're playing their age in the first when they're introduced is correct, they're in their 70s. So they're good life for the apocalypse, right?
Which that actually addresses my note that I have here. Getting old in the apocalypse. The reality of getting old in the apocalypse.
Hell, getting old now at this point.
I was like, getting old now. It's like, yes, it's like, while it does suck, there is enough to make an old person comfortable.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was just the miracle that they even got to that age.
Yeah, no, I'm saying because like in the apocalypse, you have so many risks that would likely take your life fairly early.
Right.
But to see old age to the point where we see Frank, he is dealing with a cancer, which, I mean, obviously they don't know. They don't know what kind. There is no MRI machine. There's nothing. Yeah. And they just, based off the symptoms alone, have to go with cancer. Right. Which I think about this. I was like, in an apocalypse setting as well. It's just, that's got to be so frightening. Because
it's frightening.
Like
I can say it's frightening in this setting.
Yeah, I was like, in a regular setting, of course, naturally. I just
that's something I think about.
I'd love to get your insight on that too.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm a cancer survivor myself. I think about, I go every 6 months for my checkups, and I think about like, oh, if an apocalypse would happen, I can't get my checkups. Like if I had a recurrence, I'd be in his situation. You know what I mean? Like, and now I don't even like, I used to like playing those like, oh, what would I do in an apocalypse situations? But since then I'm like, we're just not gonna play that mental game. It's not a fun thing for me. So but I mean, I can't imagine, like, it didn't seem like he had any run-in with cancer in the past. Not that that's always a visible thing. But to probably slowly have the onset of symptoms and like that, it's awful. Like, I mean, that's kind of how cancer is in real life too, obviously. Like, you're like, something's wrong. And then you go and you get it. Normally you get it like either diagnosed, treated, whatever. Like my case, I went in for a surgery, they found it, they took care of it, so
Yeah.
oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's intense. And yeah, I saw that and I was thinking about just in terms of just being any old person, whether you have extreme arthritis or like my
Need
auntie before.
medication.
Yeah, I was like my auntie before she passed away, man. She was a toothpick, man.
Right.
She needed a wheelchair just because she couldn't walk anymore, and it was just she lived long, long fruitful life,
Wow.
and to in my standpoint, I would like to go out if I was in the apocalypse. I would insist that I go out by 50, either fighting
That's so
or
young.
protecting someone else. Exactly, because
That's
I'm
so
like,
young. I wouldn't
because
want to
I'm
go out
like,
that young.
it's like the moment you're done. Once you're 51, oh, you on the chopping block. Here comes all the major health issues. Tomorrow, boom, you got
Hey,
diabetes. Boom, it's like, God
I
dang,
don't
dude.
know. I would want to live longer than 50 in the apocalypse. I don't know. Maybe if I was having
I'm
a
I'm
nice,
also
like,
the same guy who would replace most of his body with robotic parts. So
wrong apocalypse for that one.
yeah,
I don't know.
I would be good in Terminator. I want to be. They'd be like, oh, he's mostly robot. He's good.
Right. I don't know. I will say, like, seeing him take care of him.
That's love,
Oh, yeah. And it
man.
took
That's
me
love.
back to when I was sick and recovering, like my husband took care of me and my family did. And I'm not gonna cry. Um
It's
but yeah,
good.
it was touching,
It's
so
that there's. I think there's the major difference, like in terms of when someone loves you and they take care of you during a crisis like that. They don't do it because it's a responsibility. They
right,
do it because they love you. And
right.
I'm like, oh, that was nice. It was super awesome.
Yeah.
And we get,
And he still like gave him a kiss when he was,
yeah,
like they still
exactly.
had
Good
like
night. Yeah,
intimate elements of their relationship. And like, I don't know, he wasn't treating him like a burden, which is
yeah,
like a nice thing to see.
exactly.
Ooh, but yeah, that touched a lot of triggers and things for me, and
Hey,
so it was
high
intense.
five, virtual high five. You did good. Um, and we get to the last day, the last good day. Oh,
This
girl.
episode.
We get to the last good day, and he says,
I was surprised they hadn't gotten married yet.
I know. Maybe it was just one of those things. They don't need to
Right.
really. It's just like we love each other, we care about each other, and we know it. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I think
God.
when Bill wakes up to see that Frank spent most of the night crawling back into his chair, and he tells him straight up, "Today's my last day.
Yeah.
I want you to do everything to make it a good one." And
Makes them the same dinner.
he says, this is what's going to happen. You're going to take me down to the boutique. You're going to you're going to wear exactly what I tell you. We're going to go get married. You're going to cook me a fantastic dinner. And after that, I want you to put this in my wine
Yeah.
and let me out. And this is where I was going. Is this introducing the theme of choice? The theme of choice that we have over someone else's life if we're giving it. Because if you've played the game, I'm not going to go into any spoilers too much if you haven't played the game. So
Right.
you're going basically over the TV show, but there is choices that are made within the story that aren't necessarily they're not necessarily the person's choice themselves,
Right.
but made by someone else who cares about them.
But he
And
got to make that choice.
yeah, but he got to make that choice. And I was thinking, I was like, Bill's never had anyone like this in his life. And can he let go of it that easily?
Yeah.
And they have their day. They do exactly as
I believe
as
they get
Frank did.
married on their piano.
Yeah, on the
That
piano.
was so sweet.
cooks the same meal for them. Uh,
Is it the same?
I thought I
Shows
was
them the
like
wine.
super sweet, and comes out with the glass of wine,
It's a new bottle. I noticed
new
that too. They
bottle.
had
Yeah,
one during dinner, and then
this is probably the exquisite, the one that they've been saving, and
right.
pours it in, uh, pours the wine in, takes out the bag of crushed up pills, dumps it in to the wine glass. They both cheers and drink, and Frank goes,
He
"Yeah,
chugs it,
chugs
and
it."
then yeah, they both chug it in the same way. That makes it
Yeah,
seem something's in it for both of
yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly. And then Frank goes, "You put the you put
Why
the
are the pills in the
pills,
bottle?
yeah,
Yeah,
in the bottle, huh?" And he said, "Enough to kill a horse."
yeah. I liked at one point he was like, "This isn't the tragic." I don't want to say the word because I don't. It's probably a word that would get us in trouble on YouTube or whatever, but it's not the tragic S word at the end of a play. And I thought that was like a nice little,
Best way to call it, a Shakespearean tragedy.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I felt like it was a Shakespeare. His reference was a Shakespeare reference, you know.
yeah,
I was like, my brain was like, it's not Romeo and Juliet, obviously. So many
no.
Shakespeare like doing that stuff. So
Yeah,
it could be a
boy, he
lot of
did.
plays, but I don't know. I just thought that was a nice little element. He was like, this is not what that is. This is, you know, I want to go with you. Like,
Yeah. And he said, "This is." He's like, "It's super romantic," and I was like, giving your life. I get it. I totally get it because
yeah.
it's losing someone who
They're
is your
both in their
everything.
70s, like
It's like,
probably
what
yeah,
else do I got left to
right.
give? And it's real.
And by that point, I am covered in biohazard of COVID tears and boogers because I was a mess. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, like oh God, that was, and they obviously go to the bedroom together, but at some
yeah,
point there was a chance to write notes, prep for this in a way that the following scenes like
yeah.
clue you in on. So whew, but yeah, at the end, I guess that little vignette we got of their love story and oh my God.
And the beauty of this whole episode is they could have not even told this story,
No.
but they took the time to do it.
And I think it almost is bringing new meaning to like the title of the show and obviously the game like are they
Mm-hmm.
going to explore more stories like this in the future? Is this
Mm-hmm.
show just going to make me a mess every Sunday at 6 p.m.
I don't
Pacific?
know if
Like,
you recall, we were like, "Oh, this next week's
we
episode is going to be
might
a lighthearted one."
oh, we were wrong.
Not
I
lighthearted.
did think that it was they had some funny elements
They did.
like those comedic actors wouldn't have like dramatic. I don't know if dramatic actors, I'm a comedian so I'm biased, but I don't know if dramatic actors would have been able to make that story both like heartwarming, charming, and funny. Like the story
If
was funny too in a very sad way, but
I was actually talking about this with my Vampire the Masquerade group this past weekend or so. But if there's one thing that a comedian understands is timing, and the difference in timing between comedy, tragedy, and horror is timing.
yeah. And
In
there's
terms of
dramatic actors who can do funny,
yeah,
but I think it's more common to have comedic actors who can do serious because
Bryan
you need
Cranston is a
yeah.
top example of that, man. Like really, they what even Jordan Peele, another example who
So
can
I
totally
mean,
switch that.
watch both of them go earn an Emmy for this guest appearance, like or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of I don't know the awards necessarily that well, but God,
They kill it. Which, funny enough, my last note on that is great acting.
seriously.
So, yeah. And
I
then
mean to show like a relationship, like a deep and meaningful relationship in the span of like 45 minutes to the point where you're crying over characters you just met, you know, like that is great writing and great acting. So
it's good.
hats off to them.
Hats off to them. Yeah. And finally, we catch back up with Joe and Ellie in the present. They get to the house that Bill and Frank were living in.
Seemed like it happened recently.
Yeah, which I think that's exactly what it was when the '80s were playing on the radio.
Right.
I was like, and it was playing on loop, and then that's why,
Oh.
and then that's why
Because that
Bill
food
was like
had like
something's up.
a fly on it.
Yeah,
I don't want to get into the morbid, but that house would have reeked.
yeah,
There's no way. Like, I guess I'm getting into the morbid, but they went in, they obviously come up to the settlement, they get inside the house. There's
yeah.
two
And
decaying people in there.
there's two decaying people in there
Yeah.
huddled together.
Yeah.
More than likely. And yeah, so they're Joel's looking around, and Ellie
I'm
finds
so glad
the
he
note.
didn't go into the room though.
Yeah, I know he was about to, and it
I think
stopped.
he felt the pressure of the weight of the door and he was like, he knew.
Yeah, because it pushed back.
Yeah.
Something was there in front of it to stop.
Do you think they pushed like a dresser or something in front of it?
Either it's like either that or a chair or something.
Right. Like
Yeah,
they didn't
something.
want, I mean, like that's like their almost it's like a mausoleum at that point. Like I thought that was a nice
A
element. They didn't
mausoleum.
show it.
Yeah, valid point.
Yeah. So
Because the only thing you see is the open window at the end of it that they left open.
I was like, don't pan any further back.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
don't
oh
want to see
god.
it. But that
Yeah.
reminded
So
me of, I know I'm going to connect it to Fallout. Here we are. The skeletons that you find spooning in Fallout. Like, who know it's going down. And,
like sometimes Fallout will put the time and effort to give those skeletons backstories
and they
because
do. You'll
Yeah.
find the notes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'll find the notes.
Ooh, that'd be
The
a
vaults
great
are a
future
solid
Grimm
example.
reference.
Oh yeah.
If they did that, they put their names in it.
Uh-huh.
Frank and Bill.
Honestly, that would be
Hey,
Bethesda.
Bethesda.
Bethesda. I know you're not listening, but if you are, that was our idea.
Hey, us.
Put a here's what we want as our cameo. You have two people sitting at a desk. They had microphones. One named Nikki, one named Ian. Period. That's all it is. All right,
Yeah.
thanks. Appreciate it. But yeah, Ellie reads this note that Bill had left. He's like, for whoever finds this, but more than likely Joel.
Yeah.
If you're reading this, odds are you're Joel because you had the code to get in.
He.
It's not even necessarily a beautiful note. It's just he's like, my time has come. People like us, we have to have something to protect. And now that I don't have anything left to protect, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it hit him in the feels as well. So
Because the note implied that, you have Tess to protect.
yeah.
And now it goes, now I have nothing to protect.
Except
Again.
this bratty teenager.
Which, he hasn't accepted yet, but and of course they leave Joel the car, which dang, talk about
He had to make the battery. I thought that was a little I was like,
oh
damn.
which I was like, that definitely sounds like some crap Bill would do to try to make sure.
Of the episode, it was like sulfuric acid, and I was like, "Is this guy dissolving bodies in his basement?" Like,
oh
what?
my god! Yeah, and I was sitting there, I was like, "Dang, dude." But no, yeah, they get the truck, and I'm like, "Dang, talk about horrible timing, dude." Because that's what they were just striving to get, the freaking truck.
Did you notice she's in her game shirt now?
Yep. Which actually, I meant to write that down, but it's like they're both in their video game outfits. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the game, I'm assuming it doesn't change like it did in this.
I'm pretty sure. That they're always.
It's
I
like
think that they're always in those outfits.
In the same
yeah,
outfit.
I think they're always in that outfit.
Okay, so I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, it's the shirt from the game. I got excited.
They're donning on their iconic garb.
We're past the tutorial part of the game.
Yeah. Yes, we did. And yeah, they take the truck.
We have excited.
Ellie's like, it's a spaceship, and which this is a hint towards Ellie's absolute fascination with space, which you see more of that in The Last of Us 2. But
Not the
Uh,
plane scene earlier, the crashed plane at the beginning of the episode.
oh yeah, and that too. Which yeah, and I was like, hey, you actually got to go up, and so did they. So I was like, oh yeah. But
That
yeah,
plane, we didn't cover it when we talked about it earlier, but that plane fell out of the sky like this, right? Like the wings, like the whole outline of
I
the
know,
plane was
right?
intact. It made no sense. Plane would crash into the ground and you wouldn't find much of it. We have had evidence of this through
Yeah.
history, you know,
Huh.
but it felt like, and it was like draped over the mountain. I was like, how are the wings, everything intact? I thought that was kind of funny.
I did not even connect that. Wow, that's actually pretty funny. Good eye on that, because I was just in there. I was like, yeah, crash plane. I play the forest. I play. It's like, I understand. You lose half the plane over there and the other half over there. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and Joel says, I'm gonna take you to Wyoming. I have a brother over there. He used to be a firefly. Maybe he knows where to take you. And they take off in this truck. And end of the episode. All right.
Now we got to rate it.
Let's cap this off. Rate it. You want to lead us into the rating?
I don't know. I thought it was 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm mad that I cried, like ugly cried for 45 minutes.
It's like, just so everyone knows, with my rating of it being a 6 last week, I don't know how many of y'all agreed or disagreed. It has nothing to do with deviations from the game, obviously.
Right.
So it's just like, I just felt like they could have done more with that episode.
I mean, when you look
ironically,
at 1, 2, 3, it was like the level of the woo.
Yeah, it's bracing it. It's hard to keep that up. And I think about it as well with my excuse where I was like, they could have done more, in that last episode. I don't think I wanted them to do more in this episode because I was just invested with the character that's there. And it almost makes me want to see more inner stories of these characters while following the major characters. Because a lot
of celebrities to come on, all of that. Ugh.
I was like, it's good. It's good to see traditionally comedic actors in a very serious role. It's. I mean, that's how we get our Walter Whites,
Right.
and phenomenal series such as this. And it's, I don't know. I'm very confident for the rest. I feel very confident for the rest of the season. I'm already saying that.
Yeah. What's your rating? So what's your out of?
My rating is a 10.
Yeah.
It is a 10. Excellent. It is good. Consistency was everything with this. Is just detail, love.
I mean, that it was amazing. Like, you didn't. I'm seeing a lot already on TikTok of like, oh, come watch this zombie movie or show with me, and then like people sobbing. Like, it's gonna be. I feel like just more evidence that this is gonna be a good show. If it can pull at your heartstrings, if it can do this kind of storytelling, introduce these characters, make you feel something about them, and then make you feel devastated when they're gone. Like this show has some legs.
Yeah. And they're doing it all without rehashing what The Walking Dead already has covered.
Yeah.
Which is good. We still have yet to see the monstrosity of man. We've only seen like the aftermath of it. We've seen the mass grave. Like, we understand that the government are literally Nazis at this point.
Yeah,
just to quote Bill or Frank.
Oh, that was so good. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm excited. This show is good. This is a good show. HBO, not a shock, but once again, we're going back and looking at Fallout and going, oh, are you ready?
You know what? Until that show comes out, this is going to sit high up for video game stuff.
I mean, I know Halo fans are already like, how dare this be good? Like,
I will say that this is the kind of show that needs absolutely deserves the positive attention, but needs to be reinforced that positive attention. That way, other video game adaptation, like movies or shows or whatever,
Yeah. On these
get
major networks too.
yeah, like for real. That way they go, holy crap! If we just shut up, maintain the original stories, and just expand upon certain details along the way,
Right.
people will be satisfied.
Yeah, and you're gonna pull in a whole new audience
Yeah,
simultaneously.
yeah. It's like
Fantastic show though.
I didn't care about The Last of Us this much back
No,
whenever it first came out. So
I didn't have a PlayStation until December of last year. So,
there you go. So okay. Um all right. Overall, uh great episode. We will be returning again next week to cover episode 4.
right.
Any final parting words in which you would want to say to the people, the fine folk?
Thank you for putting up with my COVID voice this episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, my like raw
Honestly,
face.
honestly, it just sounds like you've been crying all night.
A little bit of both, if I'm
A
gonna be real.
little both. Yeah. And then I don't have anything else other to say, but hey, check out our YouTubes.
Right.
You have Tunnel Snakes Fool. I am Nywall. Find us. I'm playing video games. Nikki's talking about all
Mostly the
types
Fallout
of
TV show.
the Fallout TV show leaks over there, and also talks about mods and various other Fallout lore. So please go check her out too. And then we also got TikToks, Instagram, wherever you can find us
Twitter,
at.
everything. Yeah.
Hit us up.
Hey,
Probably
I'm still on Tumblr.
Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. If y'all have any questions you want to ask us, hit us up on Twitter
Yeah.
at the Capcast. Say, hey, Nywall, what's your favorite cereal? Well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll answer it on the next episode.
We could pull a couple questions per episode.
Yeah. There we go. See, I like that idea. But all right. Until the next episode of the Capcast, don't feed the Yaguai. Bye.
That is all.